August 13th, 2015. You're looking at Cern live as of 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Very high peaks in both the beam intensity and beam energy. And to the right, guys, that's the highest peak I've seen yet in instantaneous luminosity. That's what they're trying to achieve. This is the year of the light. And looking at the entire dashboard, look down in the left through there, guys. Beam lifetime emittance and then the field luminosity. Very strong. I've never seen them hit these powers in this level for this period of time ever. They are running at record levels. You can tell by the tightness of the beams that they're up at 13.5, maybe a little higher. We saw the intensities getting close to 14 when you combine them. But the beam energy, they've got that meter where it just stops, regardless of what they're doing, I think, at 13 TeV, and just flat lines from there. Look at the luminosity page. Check that out in the morning, but right now, guys, it's going straight up. You see that in the top right, and in the green section in the bottom, that was what's been delivered. The target was the red. They've exceeded the target. Look at the spikes, and you can look at the energy involved here, but the top right chart was very impressive. Look at this. Since I started this a couple of days ago, cranking it up, they started popping off more and more of these filaments from the surface of the sun. Check this one out. Started back on the 11th. We saw a burst from there, but there's one on the right side, guys, that has actually emitted more plasma than I can remember seeing. And it is definitely going to affect our planet. Regardless of who tells you that it's a side burst, do not listen to them. I'm going to show you some other information. Now, switching to another Earth-facing view from a different satellite, this is SOHO LASCO C2. Watch the energy build in the bottom right as this camera goes forward. Back again, I went back to the 11th when they started running it at higher and higher power. Remember, they threw the ground in the big magnets a couple of times? They've got that back up. Again, the highest energy I've seen CERN run at as far as beam intensity and luminosity. Look at the amount of energy, guys. It's a solid cloud. You've seen these come out like a whip. This is coming out like a solid ball of plasma energy. And it is directly going to affect our Earth. We're going to start seeing this over the weekend. I'll show you the date and time of the models. And we'll play this forward. That's not the only thing coming. That's the first big one. There's a secondary one behind it that he has an even wider spread right there. Not as intense as far as the density, but there's a tremendous amount of power. And these things are piling together as they're headed to our planet. One to the top right. All of this since they started running this high power again. And guys, wait till they start running the gold ion collisions coming up in October. You're going to see an entirely different ball game. They are weakening the shields of our planet. They're fighting a double battle when they do that because the plasma sphere of our planet reacts to solar bursts. If you remember some of my old videos, it will actually create a stronger shield that pushes out towards the sun as it senses these incoming blasts. Here's, again, LASCO, but this is C3, much wider image. That was the first one. This is the second one. Now, again, the sun is the size of that white circle in the center, just to give you an idea of what a wide, spectacular view that you're looking at. We're going to have to start paying attention to the earthquakes. We've had some 6s that have been strong since they cranked this thing back up. But this incoming blast that you just saw is going to be a game changer. We need to pay attention to this. Tremendous amount of energy. Check that out. Think about it. That white dot in the center is the sun. It takes 109 images of the Earth, if you put them to scale, to go across that white circle. How much energy is involved in this plasma cloud? Even though it's going to be a glancing blow, it's going to be a hard blow. Now, if this thing had been directly Earth-facing, guys, we would be in trouble. It's just not that time yet because that amount of density would have created another Carrington event. Let's look at the magnetopause. Notice how it's bending in at the top and bottom. That's where the lines of force enter our planet. That's why your magnet your compass points north, guys. Now, if you remember my videos from the past, when the Earth's shield sense an incoming solar flare, they expand towards the sun. That's called the magnetosphere in the plasma shield and plasma sphere. It's all related, but it pushes out to the right. So it's fighting both the incoming solar energy and Cern trying to pull it down. Whether they're trying to on purpose, I don't know, but that's what they're achieving. As we look at Enlil's solar wind predictor, I wonder where Inky's is. But notice this. The date of the impact is into the early hours of the 16th. This is universal time. That's going to put it as an average of about 10 p.m. on the night of the 15th. That's Saturday night, guys. That's showing this impact. But you're seeing both of those side bursts catch up with each other, and notice where it bows out in the center. That yellow dot is Earth. You can see from the scale on the right where we're starting to come into impact. Again, at 0200 hours, back off about 4 hours, and you're going to be about 10 p.m. on the 15th on the East Coast. That's going to give you a real close time. The models are plus or minus 7 hours. Usually they are minus 7 hours. In other words, it takes it a little longer to get here. But notice the first one caught up with the second one right as it was approaching Earth. And notice the bow out effect as it passes. What's happened is the combination of the two have combined a punch. Now it's going to come more into our southern hemisphere, it appears, because it was a downward blow. But the Earth is going to feel it all the way around because we are slightly south of the equator of the sun. Let's look at it a little closer. Both waves catch each other, both coronal mass ejections coming from the sun. They're bowing out right before they hit our planet. And that point is, again, on the 16th at 2 in the morning universal time, 10 p.m., Friday night, East Coast. Now, our earthquakes are moderate now in the 5s. Last few days, though, we've seen some 6s. What I think is happening, we've got major break points in the Ring of Fire that have been there for millions of years. And they're taking the big shots as far as the pressure points when we feel our magnetosphere and our shields collapse on the Earth. When they're pushing in, they push in on the tectonic plates. No big scientific amount of analysis to figure that out. When you push on something, it bends. Let's go back 7 days and look at all the quakes. You can see they're piling up in this bend to the east of Australia. That's a natural break like a fuse in the Ring of Fire. There's a couple others on this planet, but the big ones are there, with the exception of one at the tip of the Aleutians, one off of Mexico, and a couple in Japan. But notice in Alaska and California and up the west coast, that's where you've got this accumulation of very small quakes, because they're not on these major break points. But if you come and you look at where they are on this planet, you can see where they pick up. One of the most interesting of all of these to me, as we look at Hawaii and go over to the west coast, is the one on the tip of South America, and we're going to look at it. But again, look at the accumulation, starting at the tip of the Aleutians here, moving east into Alaska, and then you have a break coming through Canada, and then they start picking back up as it comes inland off that double fault line into the San Andreas area. That's where the pressure is. So if we're seeing that now, and we're having this incoming coronal mass ejection, we need to watch these areas. But see this bend, this outward bend in the Ring of Fire, guys? I've always thought that was an impact point. There were actually 3 there. The Gulf of Mexico took one. But if you look at the tip of South America, this is one of the largest break points. It's like, again, a fuse or the weak link in the chain. It bends in and you get the powerful quakes. To me, that's a perfect impact point of a large meteorite that hit to the left, slid to a stop right here. You see that mounding in that curve, and it pushed these islands up. And they're not small islands. They look like that here. And you've got some quaking to the right. That's because that pressure point. So, guys, there's many places on this planet that indicate very large impacts. That's one of the breakpoints. Now, updates on the website, guys. We are doing very well here. We've got a lot done. This website is going to be completely different in a few days. I've got the HTML5 codes now to where I can put it to where it's easily accessible to your cell phones and tablets. I've had a lot of requests. Look, we're up at 3824. This now has been changed. You can click on that flyer or on the color flyer tab at the top of any of the pages right there. See that? And I had dozens of requests after the video last night of people that wanted to print their own and distribute them in their area. Now, these are full color. This particular one is 2 pages because the guy in California that's going to do our flyers, the machine they use prints automatically on both sides anyway. If you run into the situation where they don't, just use one or the other pages. Both have the website information. I would suggest the top front. But sometimes you'll run into a printing situation where it's twice as much to print both pages. But this is set up the way we have it. If you'll come down and hover above that bottom right section, it's going to pull up with your codes to download. You see right here, zoom and print. You can save it, send it. It doesn't matter. This is what you were asking for, and now you have it. Again, high resolution, just like the printers asked for, in PDF form. That's all they need. You can download this to a flash drive, download it to your documents, send it to a printer, put it on your printer. But if you're dealing with color, it's much cheaper to get someone to do it on a bigger machine than it is to try to buy ink for yours. We have some black and white ones on the website that if you just want to run a ream off or something in black and white, you can do that. But this is what everyone was asking about. Again, you're going to see changes coming over the weekend because a lot of people have asked me to get it compatible with the phones, and it takes a different code. It doesn't automatically do that. It's a heads up, guys. Don't forget to call us tomorrow on Blog Talk Radio. That's 11 a.m. Central Time, noon on the East Coast, about 9 a.m. on the West Coast. Blog Talk Radio. I'll put a link. Heads up, be safe.